Hello, hello. Good Wednesday afternoon. We are meeting a little earlier today than usual. That's because this May is completely crazy. There are so many things to do, and there are so few working days. Actually, there are so many bank holidays, as you surely know. And partially because of that, I picked a topic for today that I think is very, very important in case that you might experience a break in your Norwegian studies. And having a break, like a summer holiday or like all of these free days, when it's so easy to say that, you know what, this week is not actually worth it, I will start next week, this kind of thing. It's so easy to say, to fall into that trap when there are so many free days and we are so busy trying to catch up on the work during the working days and all that. And the topic that I picked for today is this is how you start to believe in your Norwegian. And we won't be talking that much about why it is important. I have made other live streams about it, so I might link them in the comments, or you might have a look in my featured sections, both on LinkedIn and on my Facebook page, where I'm streaming to all of these right now. So you can have a look in there in the featured sections, or have a look in the video library there. To catch up on those, because I have talked a lot about it. Like, why is it important to actually believe it, that you can become fluent, that speaking Norwegian with ease and correctly is for you. And let me just say that this is the very basis of all your efforts, because we are talking about the level of your belief systems. And you might have heard in other areas of your life that you don't get what you want, you get what you believe, right? And learning Norwegian is no different. So if deep down you don't believe that it's for you, then it's gonna be very difficult for you to get there. Yeah. So let me just say this for today, and we'll be diving into more of the how to do it, that you start believing in yourself. What are the hacks? What are the things to take care about? What are the things to notice? How to think about this? And more about the importance of believing in yourself in those older videos, as I was saying. All right. So part of the inspiration for this topic, for this live stream, are of course my students. I have onboarded quite a lot of students recently, both for a group course and for one-on-ones. And the story my students are telling me when starting to take lessons with me or starting up a course with me, this story is very similar in very many of the cases. And people tell me stuff like, okay, look, I've been living in Norway for a number of years. Sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 10 years. And I haven't been able to learn Norwegian properly. In a way, that's what people tell me. I've been trying, I've been doing courses, and I just struggle. I've been struggling, and all these years. And very often, there's a lot of shame attached to this as well. People tell me things like, I really feel bad because of this, or like, I feel shame around this, or like, I feel really stupid, or I feel I should have managed to do this before. So there are all these emotions attached to it, like, I want it, but I haven't been able to get there. It must be my fault somehow. And that like there is a spiral of negative feelings around it. So this is very typical. And they want to take a course with me or one-on-ones with me because they want to try it in another way. So they feel that, okay, let me do this. And in that moment, there is this spark, of belief in themselves. But then, of course, you relapse, right? Every time we are trying to do something new, like to break an old belief and install a new one, what happens every single time is that we start believing it for a second, we take the right action, then we relapse in our feelings, right? This is not just learning Norwegian, this is everything where you get out of your comfort zone, you try to do it differently, and then you relapse and you relapse into your feelings. I mean, yeah, sometimes we relapse in our actions as well. We stop studying, we stop the effort because it feels so bad in a way, it feels so hopeless. But where we relapse first is actually in that emotion. So I feel like this is hopeless, I'm so stupid, whatever your feeling around this is. And you have gotten used to this feeling a lot. So this is the familiar, and your mind loves the familiar, right? And resists the unfamiliar. That's like the universal rule of the mind. It works in all areas of our lives. Our mind really likes what's familiar, even if it's not beneficial, even if we hate it on a certain level, but it's known. So we at least know what to expect. And being convinced that Norwegian is not for you, that you can't do it because you've never been able to do it in a way. That's the narrative, right? This is so familiar, right? And suddenly you go like, no, this must be possible for me. This is possible. You take steps, you try to do things differently, and we have these ups and downs. So there comes the same old feeling. Actually, are you really able to do this? Do you really believe it? Like, who do you think you are? All these things spinning, and we relapse first in our emotions into the known feeling of desperation. And then sometimes, if we don't recognize this and treat it at the level of the emotion that's stopping us, we relapse in our actions as well. Yeah. So this is the thing that I see a lot with my students, and we try to work with it at the level of emotions. I always encourage my students in my group courses to put these questions in the Q&A threads so that I can address them for everybody in the Q&A session and talk about it. And my one-on-one students, when sometimes they write me, Anushka, I'm sitting with my grammar and I'm like, I don't think I can do it. I'm getting the same old feeling of, I just want to throw my mobile at the wall when I'm doing the grammar exercise. And I'm just like, no, this is hopeless. I'm so stupid. The same old feeling is flooding back. And there was hope before. And now I'm back in the feeling of desperation. And it looks like it's because of the grammar, like the grammar maybe is the reason for it, or the speaking with a real person, or whatever it might be for you. That's the biggest trigger is in your learning Norwegian. For many people it's the grammar exercise, yeah. For very many others it's the speaking, but it can be anything for you. It can be the pronunciation, like I attempt it, I fail, I feel silly, and there comes the trigger. I start feeling this, feeling of this is hopeless. And as unpleasant as that feeling is, it is known. So our mind is like, yeah, wait a second, I know this, that this must be right because this is the old one. And your mind kind of starts rolling in the feeling, and it's like, yay, good, we know this. So uh, so when I get this kind of text or this kind of message from a student, I'm like, okay, talk to me about it, talk to me about how this feels, or write a little bit to me. And this is very common. Students tell me this stuff because they know that I focus on it a lot, and that it's kind of allowed to express that. It should be allowed anyhow, but it's quite difficult in traditional group courses where the teacher maybe isn't informed about this at all, or like we feel silly for having those feelings in the first place, even though that's the only logical thing to happen. Yeah, it works like that, we work like that, we are wired like that, so we cannot avoid it. Yeah. But the stuff that people sometimes tell me, apart from the stuff I've already said, is, for example, I try to work on my Norwegian, yeah, but I get this feeling of desperation every time I try it. So that's one that I get a lot. And notice that people use the word try. I'm trying to study Norwegian, I'm trying to work on my grammar, yeah, but I get this hopeless feeling. Or quite a few people have told me, like, Anishka, you know what, I can't really speak Norwegian with people in the real life because my partner is better than me at Norwegian. So they do the talking, and like I can't talk, I can't take the word knowing that they are better than me. And I'm like, okay, so you can't. Is that what you're saying? Right? And we feel that this is true. Like, I am trying to study. What the hell are you trying to study? You are studying. You know how to study. Yeah. But when you say, I am trying to work on my grammar, then you are at the same time telling yourself, reinforcing this belief, you are telling yourself, I don't think I can really do it. Let me give it a shot. But I don't even know how to study Norwegian. Yeah. And maybe this is true. Maybe your problem is that you lack proper study techniques. Sometimes that is true. But if that's your problem, then you need to seek some consultations or something, right? Just find a teacher and check out the learning techniques, right? That should help. That should do the troubleshooting. But it doesn't do it. It's not it, is it? Yeah. It's not like you are trying to study. You know how to study. You just don't believe that you can do it. That's why you say, I'm trying to. Yeah. When I am learning a new language, or when I feel like, improving a language skill, I don't say I'm trying to study. I say I'm studying from this time until that time. Yeah. I'm trying to become fluent. Yes, you can say that because maybe you are unsure if you will get fluent. Yeah. And of course, you have to believe that as well. But that's like a bigger goal. Okay. But people come to me and they even start saying, like, I am trying to study, I am trying to work on it. So are you trying to work on it? And you are failing at working at it, or are you working on it, right? So I think this vocabulary that we are using unconsciously around our Norwegian, yeah, this is very, very important. So don't ever say again, if you've ever said it, that you are trying to study Norwegian, trying to work on these irregular verbs, trying to maybe listen to Norwegian sources. People tell me that as well. I'm trying to watch Norwegian TV. Well, I think you know how to watch TV, yeah? And of course, there are specific techniques or specific mindset hacks for getting the most out of watching TV sources in Norwegian, or using listening sources at all. I've done quite a lot of live streams on that as well, and also some free programs in the past. So you can search for that on my platforms as well. So there is this level of the right techniques and the right mindsets for things that can help you greatly to, get the most out of it. But if you in the first place say that you are trying to listen to Norwegian, what do you even mean? Right? Do you mean that you can't find the time for it? Like, are you struggling to set up the habit and to prioritize it? Is that the problem? Or is it more like, I'm listening and I'm not sure if it will work? Is that what you mean? Yeah. So very often when we say I'm trying to do something, we're actually expressing that we don't believe in the outcome at all. We don't believe in ourselves. And we can actually hack our beliefs a little bit through the vocabulary choices that we make. Languages are quite powerful in that sense. So just stop saying that you're trying to do it. You are doing it. Yeah, it's on your schedule. You are doing it. Yeah, you know how to study. You're not trying to study. Another one is this can't. I can't speak when there is somebody better than me. Yeah. And part of the problem is that you are telling yourself this story. Yeah. And I know it feels uncomfortable and you have to take up that space. And there might be some kind of dynamic going on between the two of you, right? Between, maybe if it's your partner, that's a tricky one, because there might be a lot going on between you that's unrelated to the language itself. And it plays on your self-confidence in general. But your self-confidence connected to speaking Norwegian, it's no different from your self-confidence in general. Yeah, it's a specific thing. So you might believe in yourself in some areas and not in this one. But the way of building your self-confidence in speaking Norwegian is the same way. as the way you build your self-confidence in the areas where you have it. Yeah. So if you don't have that self-confidence with your partner, again, that's not a problem of Norwegian. That's a problem of the dynamics between the two of you, isn't it? But it's detrimental to your Norwegian. So if there is anybody like that in your life, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your colleague or coworker, right? It might be anybody. You have to address that at that level where the problem is, right? And you will start believing in yourself, in your Norwegian, when you believe the fact, when you kind of shift that belief, the underlying belief in yourself, that no, like, what the hell, I can't. Of course I can. It's just difficult because I have these obstacles, and these obstacles are social ones. They are not related to Norwegian as such. Yeah. So that's very important to think of. Yeah. I can't. Well, probably you can. You just have to tweak some things in your life. And I'm not telling you to break up with your partner of 15 years, right? I'm just telling you to maybe revisit this belief in yourself. Maybe it's you who is letting them speak because you feel like, like, they are going to be more efficient, so let them do the speaking. Maybe it's not them who want it, maybe they don't care. Maybe they just didn't realize that this is what is doing to you, right? So this is about you being willing to take up that space because you know that it will help your Norwegian. Yeah. And if your partner really like thinks that no, they should override you because they speak better than you, well, if there is an emergency, like quickly calling the ambulance, then of course let the best speaker do the speaking, right? But mostly, if it's like small talk, there is no emergency going on. If your partner really thinks that they should override you just because they are a better speaker than you, then I would recommend couples counseling. I'm serious. I mean this, yeah. But I don't think that's the thing with these cases. What I think is the case is that we naturally play ourselves small and we're like, okay, there is somebody who can do better than me. That's why they should do it. But unless there is an emergency, like, why, So we have to question this underlying story of the beliefs, the underlying floor. Yeah. So we are looking for the answer on the first floor and on the second floor, when actually the true answer, the true problem that we are having and facing is in the cellar, right? This is the understory of everything. So we believe we can't speak. Okay, can't you really? Yeah. We say we are trying to work on our grammar. Are you trying to work on it, or are you working on it? So this is my first piece of advice. Revisit where your struggle actually lies, because if you've been trying to nail your Norwegian for a number of years and you've been working hard on it and you've been hitting the same wall over and over again, then the problem you are trying to solve with techniques and strategies is not a problem that exists in a way, right? If you see what I mean. So we are trying to apply new techniques, new strategies, new courses, when in reality our problem is one floor lower down. So we are trying to use a hammer, to fix something that cannot be fixed with a hammer. Yeah, we need something different completely. So that's my first piece of advice. Revisit what your beliefs actually are. Revisit the vocabulary you are using, because this is very often a telling sign. Yeah, like, can't you do something, or are you trying to do something? Really give it a second thought and try to fix it at that level. Yeah, try to revisit why. Like, why do I think all these things? And could it be different? And very often with beliefs, the things that we believe, they have been in us for a very long time. These are habits of thinking, thinking the same thoughts over and over again. Sometimes somebody told us in the past that we are really bad with languages or whatever like that. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes we have a lot of bad experience with courses and with the work that needs to be done. And we've been doing it in a suboptimal way. And somebody was telling us that, if you can't do it this way, then you probably can't do it at all. And because we had some other underlying things going on, we believed that we jumped at that because it sounded familiar. Yeah. And now when you try to believe something different, when you're like, of course I can do it. Why do I say I can't do it? Of course I can speak. I'm choosing not to avoid discomfort. And that's fair enough sometimes. Yeah, I have a lot of understanding for that. You can trust me. Like, I don't have this with languages, but I have it with many other things. I've been giving the example of me and technologies. I'm like, oh no, a new interface. I don't think I can do it. So I really know how you feel. I know what this is about. I just don't have it with languages in particular, but I have it with a lot of other things where I have to work on overcoming it. So sometimes we just choose to think that we can't. We choose not to dare because we want to avoid that discomfort, and that can be fair enough. But if we want to get there, the road to your effortless Norwegian leads not through more studying the way you've been doing it before on the same premises. It leads through that discomfort of shifting your belief and be like, it's not true that I can't do it because I'm bad with languages or whatever. I can do it. It can be true that I need to invest a little bit more of effort in some areas than somebody else. But we all have this, yeah? We all have our particular talents, and sometimes it's easier for you. Sometimes somebody else needs to invest a little bit more time into something, but all of us can get there, yeah? Speaking Norwegian is not like hitting the world record in running, yeah? All of us can run, yeah, unless we really have a disability. But if you don't have a disability, you can run. You don't need to become a champion, but all of us can learn to run, yeah, and we can learn the right technique and whatever. We just have to believe that we can do it, yeah. The same with Norwegian. If you have a terrible speech defect, or if your IQ is so lowered that you can't function normally, obviously you cannot learn to speak Norwegian and make no mistakes and sound natural. But this is not your case, is it? Yeah. And that means you can learn to speak. Maybe you won't become a poet, right? Maybe you're not becoming the next TEDx Oslo speaker, but they do the TEDx in English anyway. So you might, right? But you know what I mean? You might not become a champion. Not all of us can become champions, but all of us can learn to do it normally. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna take a break and check the chat. We have some things popping up here. Yeah, Daniela is saying so true. Yeah, thanks for saying that. You know what? These things, when somebody first says them, then we're like, yeah, well, of course, yeah, that's so true. But the funny thing is with languages, with learning Norwegian, the thing that almost all of us have is that we don't look at it like these things. When we speak about self-development, right, or maybe becoming a more confident person in general, we're like, okay, this is about my beliefs. I have these limiting beliefs installed in me from my childhood, these things, and we feel that it's natural to think of these. When it comes to learning to speak Norwegian naturally and confidently and without any added effort, we like, where is my textbook? This is a technical problem, I need to attack this at the technical level, because learning to speak a language is grammar plus vocabulary, right? Only it isn't. Like, I always say it's not the case that speaking is grammar plus vocabulary. And we don't see it. Yeah, we have a blind spot to this. We understand that we need to work with our underlying beliefs and hidden programs in a way when it comes to personal development. But we don't realize that learning to speak a language confidently is a part of our personal development, and it's no different. Because if you already believe that this is possible for you and you're just like, let's go, you can be focusing on the technical level, yeah? You can be like, give me the strategies, give me the vocabulary, give me the relevant stuff. What's this grammar again? Okay, right? How do I pronounce this? And you just go. And you shoot up and you pass the B2 in like 2 years or 3 or whatever, yeah? But sometimes you've been trying to achieve the same for very many years and it's not moving anywhere. And that's a sign because you're not stupid, right? That's not the problem. None of my students have lower than average intelligence, like rather the very opposite. But still, they feel so stupid when it comes to Norwegian. And this is a sign, yeah? You do need the talent to become like a poet or something, yeah? Like a prize-winning author. But you don't need that much of a talent to learn to speak like normally, right? You have learned to speak your first language just fine, even though you believe that you don't have a language talent. So it's not it, yeah? So that's yeah, it's very good that you put in the comment, Daniela, because yeah, we have such a blind spot for all these things that learning languages, I need to attack it at the technical level, but there are more levels than that. And very often the problem is not the techniques. You know the right techniques, but you are not efficient in applying them at all. And you are not letting the stuff in because you don't believe it. Yeah, you don't believe you believe that these techniques work, but you just don't believe they would work for you as well because you're the hopeless one. Well, is that realistic? Yeah, I say no, it isn't. And I've seen people change that. Actually, one of the students who were the first ones to tell me the my partner is better than me thing, I've heard it many more times since, but the first student who told me this, quite recently, they wrote to me that, you know what? I was actually able to correct my partner's pronunciation recently, and I was like, that felt so good, And they're getting there. And I'm not saying correct your partner's pronunciation. That's not a that's not a good thing in general. Yeah, just let your partner live and ask of them to let you live in return. But like what this is showing from the I don't even dare to speak out when they are around, then the student is just like, yeah, now I speak, and they pass the speaking exam and all these things, and either they didn't believe they could do it before, but now it's coming, it's showing up, it's kind of manifesting, but this is based on the belief that underlies it. If the student didn't come to believe that they can pass the B1 speaking, they wouldn't have applied for the exam, right? They just wouldn't have taken it and wouldn't have prepared for it and wouldn't have advanced. Because that's what we do. If we don't believe it, we don't take the right actions. And we understand this, like I was saying, when it comes to personal development or something like that. We don't understand that is the same when the subject of our endeavor is speaking Norwegian. Yeah, but it is so much of the same. Yeah. I just wanted to say here as well that there are, of course, also techniques and mindset hacks and all these things that we need in order to learn efficiently. And there are also hacks, like other hacks for coming to believe that you can do it. So if you listen to all of these, very often you realize that, all right, so I've been believing that I can't do it, when in reality, part of it was that I actually was employing the wrong techniques. And that kind of reinforced your original belief that you can't do it. Because the problem is, if you believe that you can do it and you are using some techniques and you see that they don't work, you're like, I think I need to pick some other techniques, right? Because these aren't working. But if you think that you can't do it, that it's you're going to be trying hard and sweating and trying to push through the techniques that don't work. So that's a problem as well. Yeah, people who believe that they can do it and they test out these techniques for some time, they give it a fair shot and they're like, this is not working for me. Then they are searching for other ways to do it because they believe that they can do it. If you believe that you can't do it, you will put up with the suboptimal techniques, and because it kind of feeds into your belief that you're hopeless. So that's also something. So if you want to learn more about the techniques and the right ways of thinking about it and doing it, I have a self-paced course that I opened for booking now, and you can have a look through the link in the description. It's up there. There is a link to my newsletter to get notifications about live streams or the recordings, and also about free programs and all that stuff. And there is the course as well, so you can have a look at it. That's a course in English, and it's about exactly those techniques, like how to do it the right way, how to use listening the right way so that I'm not stressing out but learning, all that stuff. How to dare to speak. It's called Dare to Speak Out in Norwegian. Yeah, so that course is for all levels, as it's in English, so you can have a look. Yeah. And back to this thing about the resistance and the familiarity. Yeah. When we don't believe and we are used to it, it's familiar. When we break free for a second and we're like, F it, I'm gonna do it. Why shouldn't I be able to do it? Of course, I'm an intelligent person. I am nailing my field of expertise. I am nailing the other areas of my life. Why not Norwegian? And you investigate that. So the reason why it feels so uncomfortable to stay there, not to lose this kind of mental advancement, is because the familiarity of the bad, undesirable situation is dragging you back. Yeah, so that's very important. Let me just check my notes. Yeah. So yes, the last thing I would love to say to conclude on all of this is that believing in yourself, in learning Norwegian, in becoming confident, in becoming a fluent speaker, speaking without trying hard to do it all the time, we have to start with believing that all of this is actually possible. And this is harder than it seems. But I think all of us can believe it for a second. Yeah. If you're watching me, and especially if you've stayed up until now, you do believe right now that this is possible. If you didn't have this spark of belief that it can be possible for you, you wouldn't click on a video that's called like this is how you lift your belief. Yeah. So that means that the feeling, the kind of hopeful feeling, the right kind of belief, it's already in you. So check out what that feels like, and that's what you need to feed in yourself. Consume a lot of input on that topic, yeah, of confidence. Or maybe you can just hit subscribe on my channel or whatever. Check out the other videos. I talk about this all the time. It helps me a lot to listen to a lot of stuff repeatedly that kind of reinforces me in the right belief. Yeah. Don't listen to the people who are telling you that this is not for you, because they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. And try to go back to the feeling, because you know what it is. When you clicked on this video, you already had that feeling. Yeah. And that's the spark of belief that you need. And when you fall back, it's not you suddenly becoming more realistic, right? Sometimes we feel like, oh, what was I thinking for a second? But now I have waken up again. Now I realize that, oh, this is not for me. But it's not waking up. It's your mind dragging you back to the feeling that's familiar to you. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that the familiar is true. It's just familiar. Yeah. So you need to start working here. And the self-confidence, yeah, is built along the way, and it starts with this feeling. So I recommend working on this first, focusing on what it felt like. And it seems a little ridiculous, because students tell me, you know what, like, I'm short on time here, I need to work efficiently, there is a lot of grammar to cover, there is the vocabulary list to cover, and you want me to sit and examine my feelings in that moment. And I'm like, yes, you're telling me that you've been living here for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. You're not exactly short on time, are you? Yeah. So you've been trying the same thing over and over again. It's not working. Maybe the most efficient thing is to have a look at the underlying problem. rather than trying to fix it with a hammer. Yeah, there is time and space for the hammer. Yeah, we need to be consistent, we need to study some vocabulary, not all vocabulary, strategic vocabulary, right? We need to spend hours watching those programs on TV so that we get sufficient input. But if we are doing that in a state of anxiety and disbelief, then we are wasting our time, right? Let me just check the comments again. Right, Jess says, I feel like speaking is easier than listening in Norwegian because people speak in a wide range of ways and accents, in my opinion. It is is the way to improve this only on watching more TV, listening to more podcasts. Unbalanced comprehension and expression seems to crush my confidence rather quickly. I no longer even want to speak. Yes. Thanks for sharing this. I think I understand what you mean. Is there are a lot of dialects and there are a lot of ways people speak. And the struggle is that none of these ways are very similar to the way that your textbook presents. Yeah. So I would say, in one sense, the answer to this does lie in consuming more podcasts and more TV, because very many people underestimate this aspect. Many people think that, okay, I do the textbook, I do my course, my A1, A2 course takes, I don't know, 15 weeks maybe, or my B1 course takes 15 weeks, 20 weeks. That's a very short time to advance a whole level, given that you are not doing this full time, you're doing this after work and after preparing your kids all the lunch boxes, like your time is limited, your mental capacity is limited, and these courses that are on offer, all of them are very, very intensive. Yeah, so we sometimes think that when I do my coursework, I should advance that whole level. But this is not true. Yeah, I talk about this a lot in almost all of my other videos. So let's not get into it right now why this is not true. But the point is to advance a level, or to get better at understanding and at speaking. What we need is to consume loads of input. So we think, let me do my coursework, and then when I have gotten all the lunch boxes ready and then I can maybe watch an episode of that TV twice a week, right? And for many of us, 2 episodes a week, which is like an hour maybe, or maybe less, that's more than we can manage. But consuming input so that it works in bulk, how you have learned your first language and how you have learned English, for that matter, if that's not your first language, but you've been using it in your life, it means that you are consuming hours per week. Yeah. So if you did an episode per day, you would already see some advancement. Yeah. If you did 2-3 episodes per day, if you said like, all right, this is a challenge, I'm gonna do this for a month, and then I will revisit it and I will reassess, I will see if this has been working for me or not, right? So if you do it for a month and watch maybe an hour or an hour and 30 minutes every day, you will see that the magic starts happening and you start picking up vocabulary and formulations. And eventually, if you work consciously with structures on the side, you will start picking up those structures. Like you will suddenly know if you should use bestemt or ubestemt form. Yeah, you know what it is that helps you, that unlocks it, but you will pick it up from your input. But the problem is we underestimate it. We think that we just listen to a little bit and that will do the trick, but it happens in the bulk. Yeah, when you are swimming in the sea, and you don't have to pay close attention all the time either. You can be drifting in and out, that's okay, but in that mass somewhere there, it happens. Yeah, if you help it from the other side. So part of the answer is yes, we largely underestimate how much input we need. We need much more TV watching than we need a Norwegian course. Yeah. So my best students on any given course are those who take my advice early and they go heavy on the watching. So when we are in the middle of the course, they have already binged 2, 3 seasons of something. And these are the students who come up with the best questions and who are advancing the most because they believed it was possible for them. That's one point. And because they really went heavy on the input. So that's one thing. And now the other thing is connecting more to the beliefs that we were talking about today. Very many people get freaked out by listening. Yeah. And instead of learning, they get anxious around it because, there are also techniques or mindsets that help us to work with listening so that we can learn something. And when we don't kind of when we aren't in the right state of mind, I would say, when we are stuck in what I call the listening exercise mindset. And I've done a live stream about that recently, so I think it's still pinned in my featured section, so you can have a look there if you will find it. It's called getting the most out of your listening sources or something like that, out of listening exercises in Norwegian. If we are in the wrong state of mind, then what happens is that we get stressed out, we get blocked, we are not learning efficiently, we are blocking our ability to pick up the language subconsciously, and we are raising our kind of discomfort around it, we are raising our anxiety level, and we are feeding into the belief that we can do it. So it's also important to be in the right state of mind when consuming the input. And it's not that easy to learn, maybe because it takes time, it takes kind of the courage and the repetitions, but it's simple. Yeah, it's nothing difficult, it's just difficult, like depends on what level. It's not complex, it might be difficult for any given person. But the course I was talking about that's linked above, I speak quite a lot about that there as well. And I give the listening techniques and the listening mindsets so that we don't get blocked and we can take advantage of it. So I would say your question, the answer is twofold. Number one, if you're not consuming an hour a day or something like that, then the answer might be you need to do more, because we believe that just a little bit will do the trick, and it will not. And on the other hand, we need to be approaching the listening, and especially listening that's a bit above our level, as most of it is, right, in the process, with a particular kind of mindset, rather than the one that would be maybe encouraged by traditional coursework, so that we don't get anxious and we get advantage from that. Yeah. All right, so thanks again for the question. Thanks for sharing it. And I think it's very important that you guys are sharing this kind of stuff, because what's also typical with my students who approach me and they're like, I don't think I can do it, or, I try, but, and these kind of things. And they feel like they are the only ones, when in fact this is very prevalent, and it's very prevalent among educated adults as well. Educated adults have been my main student group for many years, so I know the demographic quite well, I dare say. And so many of us feel that because I'm an expert in my field, I have this high expectation of myself, and if something isn't working, it must be me. We are high achievers, we are used to achieving, and suddenly there is something that's not working with this Norwegian thing. And again, like, not to repeat myself, but I will, it's sitting a floor lower than you think. So you cannot troubleshoot with the techniques. You can troubleshoot with them a little bit later, or you can do that at the same time. That's maybe the most efficient, but you need to look into that cellar and check out those emotions, because emotions are very important to our learning. Yeah, the state of negative emotion around it, and especially a disbelief like that, or feeling stupid, these things, they block learning. Yeah, so that's the frog sitting on the spring, as we say in Czech. Yeah. All right, that was it for today. Thanks, guys, for being here, and for commenting actively. It's always a pleasure to meet you like that. And yeah, I'll see you next week, hopefully at 3 o'clock, because I think that's more convenient for most of you. But we will see what the timetable will do. with 17 Mai on Friday that week and all that stuff. Okay, keep it up and happily let me know in the comments or drop me a message if you want to ask about anything around this. Vi ses!